Hey guys, Sue's here. Welcome back to another What's for Dinner on Keto, Easy Keto Dinner Ideas video. We make these videos every single Sunday to give you a little motivation to get in there and meal prep and get your keto batch cooking on. We usually try to cover 4 new recipes every week. We did cheat a little this week on the 4th recipe, but stick to the end so you can see that really convenient meal we threw together. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and join the crew. If you're a returning crew member, welcome back. We appreciate you so much. Let's get into it. I wanna catch the wave. First up, we made some low-carb garlic chicken. I will link the recipe that I based this off of down below. Of course, as always, I changed it up some. But I'm taking a 9 by 13 baking dish, and I am liberally applying butter to that. Just some that I had sitting out at room temperature. And then I'm going to be using chicken leg quarters for this recipe instead of just drumsticks. These were on massive sale for a 10-pound bag, so just got a huge bag and separated them out. And I'm going to be using 3/4 for this, and I'm just kind of lining them up in my baking dish. And I'm going to use some sea salt. Make sure you wash your hands real good after touching the chicken before grabbing your salt, which I did. And then I am putting some sea salt on there. I'm having to do it with my hands because I changed brands and got some Kirkland sea salt this time. And it just doesn't come out of the dispenser very well, so won't be doing that again. Adding some ground black pepper to that as well. I always like a lot of black pepper on any type of baked chicken that I make. Now after that, this week's video, trying to clean out my cabinets and freezer a little, so I had a little remnant of rotisserie chicken seasoning in a container, so you can see I'm getting the very last bit of that out and just tossing it on here as well, very unevenly. Now I'm squeezing some lemon juice concentrate I had kicking around in my fridge over the chicken. Of course, it would be better if you used fresh lemon juice for this part. And then I'm adding 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. The recipe called for olive oil, but I'm using avocado because we're going to be cooking this at a high temperature in the oven, and avocado oil has a higher smoke point. Just drizzled that all over my chicken. And then I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic, and just kind of putting that on top of the chicken quarters. And then I'm going to add 1/2 cup of chopped up Italian flat leaf parsley. I just buy this in big bundles at the grocery store. I could have probably chopped this up a little bit finer, but it worked just as well for this recipe. I was a little worried that it would get burned in the oven, but I just watched it really carefully. So I'm just putting that all over the chicken. Now I'm just going to pop this whole thing in the oven at 450 degrees for 30 minutes, and then I turn the heat down to 325 for another 30 minutes. And here it is, all done and plated up. I just served it with some petite long-stemmed green beans that I steamed in the microwave and just seasoned with a little Mrs. Dash table blend seasoning and some Kerrygold butter, of course. My husband loved this as he's a huge dark meat fan. Me not so much, but him and the kids, yes. Next up, this awesome broccoli cauliflower sausage gratin. Oh my God, deceptively simple, such a complex taste. To start with, I put together a little cream sauce of 1 cup of sour cream, 2 tablespoons Dijon mustard in a dish, mixed that together really, really well. Once it was all incorporated and smooth, I just stuck that to the side. Got a large saute pan over medium heat and a smaller one over medium heat. Got both of them going at the same time on the stove top. Added a couple tablespoons butter to one, and to the other I'm adding 1 pound of pork kielbasa. I just buy this in a huge pack at Costco and then separate it out. I cut this kielbasa into about 1-inch chunks and cut it at a slant. And I'm just using my hands to kind of arrange it in there so it can get nice and brown. Now I'm adding the tiniest Vidalia onion ever seen to this pan of butter. And I'm adding 1 leek. Now I only used the bottom portion of the leek for this recipe. I almost left it out, and I'm so thankful I didn't, because I really think it's what gives this dish the really distinct, awesome flavor that it has. If any of you have never cooked with a leek before, this was my first time actually buying a whole one and cutting it and doing it myself. There are tons of videos on YouTube on how to do it, but if you would like for me to make one, comment down below and I will do that as well for you guys. But I'm just cooking that up until those onion and leek start softening and my sausage gets a little brown. To that, I'm adding some cauliflower and some broccoli. I cheated with this part. I used frozen cauliflower and broccoli, of course. And probably about 6 to 10 ounces of cauliflower. Thawed it, nuked it in the microwave for a second, but didn't cook it all the way, and it was already in small pieces. And then I used a pound bag of the Kirkland's organic broccoli, and it's always in big, huge florets, you know. So I did the same thing, thawed, nuked in the microwave, and then I just broke it apart with my hands into kind of 1-inch chunks on that as well. And I'm just cooking these all together in the butter until they're kind of softened, and just kind of turning the sausage with my hands. And I'm using my hands just because it's in large enough chunks that I can do that without burning myself. But you know, I should have probably used tongs, but I'm just keeping it real over here. Now I'm getting a 9 by 13 baking dish, and I'm just going to add my veggie mix to the baking dish. And then I'm going to pour that sour cream and Dijon sauce that we made on top of it, and then mix that together really well. Once I had it mixed, I used my spoon to kind of place those big broccoli chunks evenly, and then just kind of patted it all down. Little sea salts and some ground black pepper. And now I'm just going to add that kielbasa straight to our veggie mix. And again, try to, you know, place those in there as evenly as possible. And now for this part, I'm using a little bit of fresh thyme. Now, I wouldn't normally use fresh thyme, but my husband picked it up, and he just picked up a plant, and it's almost time to plant things outside, so figured I would do it. The recipe called for 4 tablespoons fresh. I did not have the time for that. I might have done a tablespoon, guys. Now I'm adding cheese. I did a 1/2 cup of the mozzarella pre-shredded from Costco. And then I'm also adding a 1/2 cup of extra sharp cheddar cheese that I had shredded myself to save on carbs. And I just pulled it out of the fridge. And I'm going to put the whole thing in the oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. Actually, I cooked mine for 20 because I like to do overkill. This is what it looks like when it comes out, guys. This was super duper delicious. I will link the recipe I based it on down below. Here it is all plated up. Put a little bit more fresh thyme on top of it. This was such an easy keto meal idea, keto recipe to make for weeknights. Stores and reheats super well. And like I said, the taste is so complex. I think really the leek is what did it, but definitely try this one out, guys. Next up, I made an awesome slow-cooked keto pork roast with some creamy gravy, served over cauliflower rice. This one took a long time because I did it in the crock pot. Added a 3-pound pork shoulder that was in the bottom of my deep freezer. Added a 1/2 tablespoon salt to that, a cup of water, and then about this much peppercorn. Just tossed it in there. 2 teaspoons of ground thyme, and a bay leaf. And I cooked this on high for 4 hours, and then because we've had the sickness wrecking our household constantly, I turned it to low and then accidentally cooked it for another 3 to 4 hours. So it looks a little dry on top, but it was totally moist and awesome on the inside. Now, after I got done cooking that in a dish over here, I did about a tablespoon of fresh minced ginger. I would have done more, but that's all I had left in the fridge. A heaping teaspoon of minced garlic, a tablespoon of plain paprika, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper, and a tablespoon of avocado oil. And I'm just using my fork to mix that all up until it makes like a nice paste to rub over our roast. So I just took the pork shoulder. When I took it out of the crock pot, all of the fat and stuff I went ahead and removed. And I am just using my hands to rub that paste all over the roast. And I picked it up. You can see where I removed all of the fat off of the roast. And just rubbing the paste all on there as well. And once I had that seasoned well, I am putting it into a 450 degree oven for 15 minutes just to cook that paste in. Now we have a sauce pot on the stove. I'm taking a sieve and pouring our pork droppings. You can see all of that fat left in the crock pot. pouring that through there to get all of those solid chunks out. And now I'm going to boil these pork drippings and reduce them by about half. And of course I ran out of patience, so I didn't reduce it all the way because I was in a hurry at this point. I'm slowly adding 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream that I've had sitting out at room temperature. And I'm whisking that in. And then I'm bringing this to a boil as well. Now this didn't thicken up quickly enough for me, so I did end up going ahead before simmering it for about 20 minutes. I added 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum to that to just let it thicken up more quickly to what I needed for it to be. Wanted a little thicker gravy consistency. And because I like to be able to see the dark spots of pepper in my gravy, any kind of gravy, I went ahead and added some ground pepper to that and whisked that up. And of course I took my pork out during this and let it rest, and then I shaved it up into thin slices, steamed some cauliflower rice with a liberal amount of Kerrygold butter and pepper, put my roast over it, and spooned that gravy on it. This was delicious. I thought I was eating rice and gravy. It was so good. I highly recommend trying this out. Lastly, kind of a cheat meal. This is some North Atlantic Pollock served over a salad. Now, this is from Costco. It's been in my freezer for a while. It's wild caught Pollock, and it's pre-seasoned. And when you turn it over, macros look good. The seasoning looks good, except for this pesky ingredient, canola oil. Now, I do not eat canola oil. I think canola oil is horrible for you. That's my personal opinion. So I will not buy this again, but because I had it in the freezer kicking around, I did go ahead and pull it out to use in all of the pieces of fish. Of course, are vacuum sealed. So just took all of those out after it was thawed. Took a cookie sheet, lined it with some nonstick foil, and I just followed the directions on the box and baked this from thawed for 20 minutes at 350 degrees. Did put a little salt and pepper on it also. Then I topped it with this, probably not that healthy either, Walden Farms Italian dressing, but it is keto friendly. And then some shredded Parmesan cheese. And oh man, this tasted so good. It could change my mind and convince me to buy that fish again. So anyway, super quickest meal of the week. Hope you guys liked this week's What's for Dinner on Keto. Easy keto meal ideas video to give you some inspiration to keep going strong in your keto diet, living your keto lifestyle. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below any ideas that you have for future recipe videos or any tips and tricks that you have while you're following your keto diet. We do make these videos every single week, and they usually, are a better mix of complex versus super simple keto recipes. I had to keep these as easy as possible this week as we recently put our 2 toddlers in preschool/daycare, and we are currently on week 4 of kitty viruses. So there you go, guys. I'm going to get back to taking care of my sick kids. Please come back next week. Subscribe. See you soon. Bye, guys.
This big black cloud is coming down.